The Leaders World, brought to you by Leaders World Institute. It's your space where we speak with leaders about issues pertaining to leadership, and that's meant to help you grow, to grow your leadership personally, to grow professionally, and to impact your family as well and your career. Okay, so today is special. Why is it special? Because we have a really special guest with us. And yes, it's the author of The Day Before Tomorrow, How to Make Today Count. How else to start the new year? With us in the studio is Professor Jefferson, who is a professor of business analytics. He's an executive trainer and leadership consultant. He is internationally certified and trained with the Maxwell Leadership Certified team, and he's a former director of the MBA program. He was recently awarded the Northern Michigan University's 2020 Individual Innovation Award for his contributions to business analytics, curriculum development, and delivery. Dr. Jefferson brings together his experience in training business professionals and his leadership expertise to add value to people around the world. Wow. Having held several leadership positions in the past 25 years, Dr. Jefferson has been involved in leadership development in Africa, Europe, and America. He has also offered keynote speeches to leaders in government, business, and higher education internationally. He is the president and founder of two leadership development organizations, and that is Lead Missions International and Superior Lead LLC. You know, the book is here. And ladies and gentlemen, the author is here as well. Join me, welcome Professor Jefferson to the studio.
Yeah.
Yes. This is amazing. I am so happy. I remember the last time you visited. You were here with us. We talked about the book. It was upcoming then, and today is here. So I'm really excited to speak with you about this book. And I'm just thinking, this is the second Sunday of the year 2023, and I mean, what a better way to begin the year. What is your take, by the way, on this whole setting of goals at the end of the year and New Year resolutions and stuff like that? What's your take on these?
Well, by the way, I want to say thank you, and I want to say a happy New Year to you and to all of the people that watch this show and that take this show really seriously. I am probably like you. I am a goal setter. There is a debate, on resolutions and goals. I go for the goals rather than resolutions, because resolutions talk about what you want to change. Goals talk about what you want to achieve. So I go for, the things that I want to do, rather than just looking at the things that I want to change. Because, like when you look on the change side, it can be very demotivating, right? Because like, I need to change this thing. But when you say I want to achieve that, it motivates you. It kind of makes you to pushes your energy in a positive direction. So when it comes to resolution versus goals, I go for goals because of the positivity in the concept of goals. But the truth is that we can never really set serious goals without making some resolutions along the way. So, that is quite of my take when it comes to that. Yes. So.
Thank you so much, Professor. That was so clearly put there for our viewers and for me. I'm learning every day, and I'm wondering, the day before tomorrow, why this title? How to Make Today Count? Why did you choose this title?
So, by the way, this is my very first book. And over the years, people have asked me time without number. And they said, Madison, when are you going to write a book? And for all of these years, I just told them, not now, not now. Not because I was really postponing when to write a book, but I wanted to write a book that, number one, my first book that represents who I am to the core. I wanted a book that speaks to the person that I am and my own journey and reflects on my own journey as a person. So I wanted to write a book that really talk about the thing that I care the most about and the thing that has made me who I am, the reason for who Madison is and why I do the things that I do, why I care for the things that I care for. And the bottom line came to the fact that I am someone who has learned how to seize the moment. I've come to appreciate the fact that yesterday is truly gone and that tomorrow is yet to come, and that the only thing that I have in my hands is today. And what I make of today will determine how the rest of my future and my destiny will be about.
So you just talked about seizing the moment. If we have somebody listening to us now, as we know, there are thousands of viewers that are going to watch this broadcast, seizing the moment, and they're wondering, how do I get to seize my moments daily? What would you tell them?
Interesting. So yesterday we were launching the book, my book online, and quite a hundred, also a couple hundreds that were there. And I was sharing with them the central message of this book, which is found in chapter 7 of the book, right? In chapter 7 of the book. And it talks about the power of today, how to seize the moment. And I was saying, communicating to the people, and I communicate in the book. I said that, you see, every day was an ordinary day until somebody rose up and said something extraordinary. And somebody rose up and did something different. And then the whole world rose to it and said, whoa. And then when they look back, they say, wow. Remember, they call the date. It could be Independence Day when they got separated from their colonial masters. It could be a wedding day, the day that they united. Whatever day that we really remember in the past was an ordinary day. It's just that somebody decided to do something that finally put that date on the calendar and made it relevant. So to seize the day can be as little as getting up and walking with intention, deciding that you are going to be the captain of your ship, the master of your own life, and saying, I am going to do something. I'm not going to wait for things to happen. I am going to do something. Somebody put it very aptly this way. He said, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That is why we call it the present. So many people are standing in many people are absent in their present. Let me put it that way. Many people are absent in their present. So to seize the moment means that you take every day very intentionally. You don't take the day as though another day will be given to you after that. You live today as though it were your last, and so you make sure that every moment counts. Now, let me ask you this, my dear sister. Now, if you knew that you were not going to be here in the next 24 hours, do you notice that your life will be very different? You will not decide, and it's not anything that you will engage in, right? We will be more calculated, but the truth is any day can be our last day. The only thing is that we don't live like that. And this book brings us back to that concept that today is really your greatest day, and is the only day, by the way, that you have, and that is granted.
And in the book, you talked about how some people let their yesterday control their today instead of managing today in a way that their future can be what they want to see instead of leaving it to chance. Do you want to talk more about that?
You see, so life is a very interesting thing. So life is really made up of inputs and outputs, right? So it's made up of inputs and outputs. So whatever you are today, wherever we are in our lives right now, it is an output of what we put in yesterday. So it is a result. Today is a harvest of yesterday. And so you have to
Professor Madison there speaking with us on his book, The Day Before Tomorrow. The Day Before Tomorrow. And he just let us know that tomorrow we gain the harvest of what we planted today. And that is why we have to be very, very intentional about how we handle today, because today is the gift that we have, is the present that we have. How we handle that present determines the future. And he was giving us that explanation to let us know that if we understood the power in today, we would approach today differently. He is the author of The Day Before Tomorrow, How to Make Today Count. And in the book also, you talked about the limiting beliefs and how sometimes we just go through life letting those beliefs lay there and control how we live, instead of taking charge of those beliefs and handling them in ways that we can walk into the gainful futures that we are looking for. Would you want to talk about that a little bit more?
So let me again bring you back to where I come from. I am a village boy. I was born in a little village in the grasslands of Cameroon. And I grew up with very little around me. You know, I walked about 6 miles to school or so every day. We never had, we never had, tap water. We went to the stream. I carried water from the stream. I grew up with my grandfather and my grandmom. I never really knew my dad until later on in life. And so when you grow up in that mindset, when you grow up in that setup, and then one day I left the village, and then I would be in my country, what will be considered a town or a city, and there is electricity and there is tap water and all of that. And you grow up with little means. So as you grow up and you start seeing that, oh my God, the world is better than that. That people truly have cars. I remember for the first time when I saw one of my classmates had a father who drove and dropped him off at school. I was like, what is this? Like, it was like mind-blowing to me. So these guys, they even come and drop him off at school in a car. And I used to walk like, man, like, what? That's when I went to the city, right? Because in my village, there was nothing like that. You have to, totally outside of the thing, right? But then you grow up then and you begin to see that life is bigger and better and whatever life offers. But you look to yourself and say, no, but that is not for you. You are the village boy. This is for the other guys. And so I grew up with the fact that, well, I have to just be satisfied with what I am. But, at least I'm not walking barefooted like it used to be. At least you are not that. At least you came out from the village. At least you have electricity now. At least you have running water now. You don't need to go to the stream. So you begin to settle and say, well, you know what? I think I'm just okay where I am. And so
that's like using your past against yourself.
Exactly. So you begin to think like, okay, this is how it has been. This is how it will always be. So I should just be content that that at least I am where I am. So limiting beliefs are real. They have been in my life. And then I have worked on eliminating them. And I believe any human being, there are still some other, the other ones that prop up there, or some that take a longer time to go away. But self-limiting beliefs are real. And if we allow them, they will cause us not to be able to achieve the things that we are capable of.
In your book, I noticed that you talked about adding value to people, and that is one of your motivations, and that's what prompted you to write your book, and that's been your motivation for the two leadership organizations that you have founded. And would you like to speak with us about becoming a more valuable person to our communities, to our families? How do we even start this journey to becoming more valuable to the society? Today we are talking about your book, and you're bringing so much value to the world. How do we even start this journey, and how do we grow in it?
So let me just share with you something that really triggered this, right? Like I said, I'm a Maxwell Leadership Certified Coach. And in 2017, March of 2017, I was attending an international Maxwell event in Orlando, Florida, where I am actually joining you from today. I'm in Orlando right now. And And John Maxwell, one of my biggest leadership coaches, spoke on that day, and the place was electrified. Everybody was yelling, and you know why the atmosphere, 2,500 people in a hall. It was just so powerful. And then at the end of his discourse, he said something. He said, "I want you to get a book." And he says, "One of my books." I said, "This is the only book you would find on the product table with my personal note and my signature." And so that got my attention. I said, "Oh, what book is this that this guy wants to talk about?" Because I've read the 21 irrefutable laws of growth. 21 laws of leadership, and 15 laws of growth, and all of that. But which one is this? And he said, it is called the greatest story ever told. And I was like, what? This should be it. And I was thinking to myself, what book, what would the book be about? Maybe Martin Luther King, maybe, Nelson Mandela, maybe a collection of this, maybe Jesus Christ. This must be some very important figure, or some important figures that this book is going to be talking about. And so, like a good Cameroonian, I was calculating the exit doors and watching which one is the shortest to the exit. So I will go and be one of the first to get the book, because I calculated if 2,500 people want to get a book, not everybody will have a copy. So my calculations paid off. I was standing right there, and the book was in my hand, and I said to myself, wow. And I said, whoo, I finally got it. I was, sorry for all of the other guys who have to order it online. And so I was flipping through the book, empty pages. I flipped some more, empty pages, and then I flipped backwards, empty pages. Then I remembered he said that he wrote a note in the beginning. So I said, well, let me just kind of see whether that note is even there. I don't know if this is the workbook of the book or this is the book itself, right? So I go back there and I read, and then the first line said, "Dear friend, the greatest story ever told can only be written by you." In that moment, my fingers froze, and I thought to myself, the greatest story ever told can only be written by me. So what do I really have to write about? And I thought about my life flashed before my eyes, and
So you actually bought an empty book with a note from John Maxwell.
In fact, 248 blank pages.
Tell us some more. And
then he said, fill these pages
with your story.
Yes, with your story, with your acts of love, with the things that you would do, so that you can add value to yourself and add value to others and add value to your work. And I said from that day, by the way, I was really disappointed when I found the empty pages, because that's not what I wanted to have. But you see, I was betting on somebody else's story. I was willing to read somebody else's story, but I wasn't willing to read mine. And that's what happens to many of us here. Many of us don't like our story. Well, if you don't like your story, decide that today you will add value to your life, and so that your life will be also about adding value to others. You see, because to add value, you have to receive value. To add value, you have to have value. You have to see value in yourself. So from that day, I committed my life more than ever before to be someone who added value to themselves, so that I can be in the position that I can add value to others. So that was really one of the motivations.
You've said a lot. You've said a lot. And I'm just like, how do we digest this? How do we digest this? How do we digest this? But I like a comment from one of our viewers who says, I will add value to my life to be able to add value to others. I just like how he synthesized it. Thank you so much, 𝗧𝗢𝗪𝗥𝗢𝗢, for that comment, because I was wondering how to synthesize everything you have said in a beautiful, captivating sentence. So how can I add value to myself, Professor? How do I add value to myself?
So, you see, like I told you, I am a village boy, right? So when you look at yourself, when I looked at myself like that village boy, guess what? So I said, well, so I'm a village boy. I grew up where in fact, I didn't speak English until later on in my life, maybe when I was like 8 years old and things like that.
Wait, you keep talking about this whole village boy thing. Are you saying that we city people are completely cut off and there is no space for us.
You know, you know, I am just saying that is my experience. So when you come from somewhere, like where I come from, there you see, there's a way that you look at life. And then, by the way, people in town also have their own self-limiting beliefs. They also have their own self-limiting beliefs, but I don't know much about them. I can only tell much about myself, right? So, but here is the deal, though. And then you begin to, and you see those self-limiting beliefs in your life, and as you begin to interact and read and read the stories of successful people, you read about the Martin Luther Kings, and then you read about the Mother Teresa's of the world, and you read about this one, and then we say oh my God, these guys were not like, okay, they did not fall from heaven or so. They were not angels or so.
Okay. Prof, just okay, listen, if you're watching us, okay, if you've been hearing Prof, and you've been listening, I've learned to listen not just with my head, but to listen with my heart. And you're listening, and today could be that day for you. Do you know that? Today could be that day for you where you make up your mind and you say, from today, every day will count, and I will start adding value to me radically, because I want to be a person of value, adding value to others. What are the steps? You may say, I am not very clear about the steps. That's why we are here. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Prof. And there are tons of resources that we have access to and we can help you with. Whether you're from the city, whether you're from the village like Prof, hey. Tell us about the possibility mindset, Professor. You talked about it in your book.
So possibility mindset means that, whether I am not where I want to be, I can be where I want to be. Possibility mindset says it is possible. Whatever I feel in my heart, whatever I have in I feel in my spirit, I can birth it. And so possibility mindset says, well, I can be a city boy, even though I come from the village. I can sound and look like and enjoy life and embrace life just like that. It is possible. So the possibility mindset simply says it is possible. My dreams are possible. My goals are possible. Whatever I conceive is also possible in spite of my limitation. All what I need to do is I need to add more value to me so that I can develop my skills. I can learn that new language. I can learn that new subject. I can go to school. I can train myself. I can meet a mentor. I can be coached. I can open myself up for value to come in. And when I receive value and I grow in my value, see, I then can add value to others. So possibility mindset says, even though I am not where I should be, it is still possible that I achieve my dream.
Now, if you're watching us, would like for you to interact with us. Okay, so we know you're there. Can you put in the chat, my dreams are possible? Just put in the chat for us, please. My dreams are possible. Let's know you're there. And if you have a question, hey, it's not too early to ask your question. Prof is here. Hey, if you don't ask your question now, when do you want to ask it? Put it in the chat and we'll take note and we'll come back to it. All right. Prof, how easy is it for us to rewrite our stories? Because many of us come from broken backgrounds, broken situations, that are latently lying there in our subconscious and affecting us and controlling us in ways that we don't even know. How easy is it for us to rewrite our stories? Because some of us have good stories, stories of, maybe the lives that our parents wanted for us. And it's been so far so good, but now we realize, hey, that was the life my parents wanted for me. What do I want for myself? How easy is it to rewrite our stories?
Well, The short answer is it's not that easy. However, it is doable. In the book, the road less traveled, the author begins the book with a very powerful premise. It says, life is hard. It says the sooner you accept that fact, then you begin to adjust to that reality. So life is hard. It is difficult to to be 30 years old or 40 years old and then cancel all of what you have known or what you have been for 40 years and decide on a new life. It is hard. It is hard. However, change starts in the moment. You can start right now and say, I commit my whole life to being someone different. This is the life I want for me. Write it down. Yeah, I always believe in writing it down. So today, I want to commit myself to that possibility, that new life that I can have. And then when you make that decision, then when you become intentional about that decision, you say, but so what do I need to do to become that new person that I envision for myself? And that is where things like resources like books like this one, resources like coaching, mentors, people that have been there, people that are close to, that are a picture of what you want to be and who you want to be. That is when you begin to draw closer to those people. And then those people begin to feed into your life. And then you begin to see yourself now moving closer and closer to that destiny. When I made a decision, especially the decision to really add serious value into my life and to become the person that I am becoming, it was about 10 years ago. Like seriously, it was about 10 years ago. And when I made that decision, that is when I started seeking for mentorship. And today I am being mentored by multiple people in multiple areas. I'm being mentored as a husband. I'm being mentored as a father. I'm being mentored as a leader. I'm also being mentored as a speaker. So and these are these are intentional relationships, right? Some of them I pay tens of thousands to even get to do that, because
tell me about it.
I believe that it is valuable to me, and that way I can add value to others.
Wow. So growth happens daily. Growth happens daily. It doesn't happen in a day. And today is your day. Today is your day to make it count. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Leaders World, brought to you by Leaders World Institute, and we'll be right back.
For your corporate and personal needs,
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
That's Professor Madison 𝗕𝗙𝗎𝗍, the author of The Day Before Tomorrow, How to Make Today Count. Prof, if you need to go get a drink of water, you need a glass, you can do that. You can just leave and come back. That's okay.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm good now.
That's okay. So we are looking at your first book, which has just been published, which is Power Packed, The Day Before Tomorrow, How to Make Today Count. And we are looking into why you wrote the book. And hey, let me just ask you, who is this book really for?
Okay, so this book is for three groups of people. Number one, it's for people that have struggled and are still struggling with putting their past in the past. It is for people, secondly, for people who are still pushing their dreams and their goals and whatever they want to become in the future. And they're saying, one day I'm going to be this. Someday I'm going to build a good house. Someday I'm going to be a wonderful husband and all of that. And they're pushing all of that for the future. And then lastly, this book is for people who want the promise of today to be delivered to them, who can't wait for tomorrow to live their best life ever, who believe that today has, in today is buried the seed of their greatness, and they are committed to making sure that today gives them their fair share of the promise that it has for their lives.
Well, Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you're hearing all these things I'm hearing, because I'm just sitting over here being energized, being inspired. I mean, like, hey, and I see people asking already, where can we get the book? Prof, do you want to just answer that question?
Well, nicely enough, the book is available on nearly all platforms. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available on BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com. It's available on Kindle. It's available on Nooks. It is next week. It will be available on Audible, so you can listen to it if you just want to play it in your car and listen to it. It will be available. It'll also be available on Apple Books from about next week.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And then, by the way, it's also physically available in Cameroon, in my own home country. It's available in Yaoundé, and so that's where the central distribution is. And people can order from their books from there.
And you can reach out to Professor Madison 𝗕𝗘𝗙𝗢𝗪. He's on Facebook, and I'll put his website and all those links for you, and you can reach out to him as well. I noticed that in the book you have at the end of every chapter, you give like an activity for the reader to do to help them make those changes that they need to make. And you talk about the family, you talk about the career, you talk about business, the professional life. Like I was wondering, why do you have to mention all these different dimensions of life as far as making today count? Like, how is that important to us?
So like I told you, the thing that inspired the book was when I was rushing and desiring to get the greatest story ever told. So I attempted to fill the 248 blank pages that John Maxwell gave me. But if you read the epilogue of the book, at the end of the book, I write an epilogue, and I said that I have attempted to fill 248 pages, right, of the greatest story ever told. However, the premise in the book still stands. It says that the greatest story ever told can only be written by you. So it's not to be written by me, it's by you. So I say in the book that the reason why I provided that the journaling, so that every chapter you reflect and journal, is so that you have your own story. Really, let me say this. If you take it seriously and you write down the answers to those from chapter 1 to chapter 10, there are 10 chapters. If you do that, you will come up with your own unique story that you can even publish.
Wow.
Because my aim was not to make you read my story and you say like, well, wow, that is so nice for him. Good for him. In America, we would like to say, good for him. Good for him. No, I didn't want it to be good for him. I want it to be good for me because I'm doing something for me.
Okay. All right.
So I wanted that journaling to happen.
This affects all dimensions of life. It affects every scope of life. Like when we develop ourselves, we become better employers, we become better employees, we become better parents to our children, we become better moms and dads, we become everything just because we are getting better. Is that like the idea?
So the idea was to provide, so those topics, I thank you that you brought me back to that. So the ideas of those topics, like, because I talk about relationships, then I talk about your career or business, then I talk about, your education and all that. Right. The reason was to just think about what life is all about broadly, so that people don't narrowly think about just one thing, right? So that they think about different aspects of their lives rather than just just one tiny aspect, because sometimes we are very parochial in nature, right? We can just focus on our jobs, and if our jobs are something is not happening there, we just feel as though it's everything. But I wanted us to think about family and relationships, career and business, right. All of that, so that you look at it in a more wholesome and a more holistic way.
Wow, I like that. Wholesome and holistic growth, wholesome and holistic development, wholesome and holistic progress. You talked about, that's on page 23, talk about myths about yesterday. What are some of the myths that people have about yesterday that keep them from making the most of today?
So one of the myths of yesterday is that, yesterday yesterday is everything. There's some people like, something happened to them yesterday. 40 years afterwards, they are still living under the cringe of what happened to them 40 years ago. So my book, it says, no, yesterday is not everything. It's just it's not even half of the story. It's just 1/3 of the story, because there is yesterday, then there is today, and then there is tomorrow. So it's just 1/3 of your life lived. So you cannot let 1/3 of your life like influence the other 2/3.
And it seems as though the 1/3 of yesterday is the one that we don't have any control over.
Oh, talk to me about that, because that's the one that we totally can do nothing about it. Ogmandino says, talking about yesterday, he says, can I go back to yesterday? Can I, take 1 minute away from my life? Can I go back 1 hour? Can I even shift back 1 second? None of us can do that. So one of the myths is that yesterday is everything. One of the other things is that some other people is that they just ignore yesterday, just like yesterday doesn't count. No, you cannot just discount yesterday. Everything, with the exception of today, is yesterday, right? So yesterday really is not, it's something you have to take seriously. There are things that happened yesterday. If they were bad, you have to reconsider how to deal with them. There are some things that happened yesterday that were good. If they were good, there are some things that you can do to propagate that goodness or even make it better. However, you cannot just discount yesterday as though yesterday did not exist. Right. And,
right.
Yeah. And also another myth of yesterday is that, and that people get trapped in yesterday, is they begin to feel like they begin to try to deny yesterday, right? They kind of deny yesterday. It's like yesterday never happened. No, yesterday happened. It was true that, it's true that, you didn't grow up with your parents, or your parents did not love you, or, so you can't deny that it happened. What you can just do is acknowledge that it is there, it happened, and then you say, what are the corrective measures, or what can I do about my yesterday?
So one of the reasons why you wrote this book is to help people who are stuck in their past to push past that past. How can one recognize that they are being influenced by their past?
Well, think about your thoughts. What are the things that motivate you? Many people are motivated by their past. They want to get a job, but they ask themselves, have I ever gotten a job like that in the past? They want to be married, and the first thing they think about is the bad marriages that they came out from, or the ones that they saw. They want, whenever they want to do something, they want to travel, and then they think about all of the worst things that have ever happened in their travel life before. So what preoccupies you is your yesterday, and what motivates you is your yesterday, then you know that there is something wrong with that. For instance, I know people that want to get married, and maybe a lady, and he sees this gentleman that comes before him, and then he says to the gentleman, you men, you guys are always like that. So where is that coming from? Where is that coming from? It's coming from her experience, from her past. So he's not giving this guy a shot for this guy to define who he is. He's already saying you men are like that. That statement
because of yesterday
is a lot. It's a loaded statement, but it's a statement from the past. That is how you can tell when a language is always about yesterday. It's always about that. Then you kind of see that I have a problem. It's not talking about today. It's not talking about my future and where I am going to. If it keeps dealing with the past, then there's need for some correction.
So friends, instead of letting your yesterday, be the measuring rod for your decisions, you want to make sure that it's your bigger, brighter future that you're looking at. Okay, because they say nobody makes progress by looking in the rear mirror the entire time. No, we can glance, but hey, we have to face forward. And how do you face forward in life? Is by looking at that preferable future that you want, maybe for your business, maybe for your family. Stuff happens. And everybody goes through stuff, but how you handle it is what matters. And I see on page 38, there is something that, a story that you brought out that I had never seen that way. And I thought, isn't this just like a stellar example of how when you're intentional about your actions and you're intentional about your beliefs and you're intentional about how you just want to lead your life and influence the people around you, it's easier to seize moments that others would have let slip by. And I'm going to read from page 38. The night of August 27, 1963 proved to be a sleepless one for Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. He was due to give a speech at the Lincoln Memorial on August 28, so he stayed up late preparing notes for the big moment. As he was delivering his speech the following day, a gospel singer by the name of Mahalia Jackson, who was standing near him, his side, shouted, "Tell them about the dream, Martin." King paused and went off script. His decision in that moment changed the course of history. Tell us about just being ready for those moments that might be history changing moments in life.
Think about this, Susan. Can you believe that the greatest speech that everybody remembers about, King Jr.
I have a dream.
was a speech that he did not really write. It was a prompting of the moment. And it took a singer at the back of the podium, the one who sang to introduce him to bring him on stage. And here is the thing though, the story goes that Mahalia was tired of listening to him say the same things the same themes he was covering in all of the other rallies. And he said, "No, Martin, just tell them about the dream." And then,
which means Mahalia knew about the dream.
Exactly.
We have been talking about the dream behind the scenes.
Exactly. Because Mahalia got to be very close to King. So King decided to begin to share because Mahalia was always the one who gave the inspirational song before he came. So today, just like maybe in places where every preacher or whatever, you say, you know what, I'm going to be talking about this. So choose a song that would tie into what I'm going to say. These are my thoughts and all of that. And she said, tell them the dream. And in that moment, Martin Luther King went off script and he says, I have a dream that is rooted in the American dream. And then he went off. And that is what we remember him for. So this is what I say. Mahalia Jackson would always take her place in history for what she did. You see, that is what I mean by when I talk about how to make today count. What if Mahalia Jackson did not shout and take that risk? How do you tell Martin Luther King what to say? Now, how do you cannot, let's just be frank and let's just think, because sometimes we just kind of take things for granted. But how do you take, and then do you think the courage for Martin Luther King Jr. to put aside his script and go on that ad lib? But that was what changed the course of history, meaning that as you and me are talking today, there might be a moment where a word comes out, and so you hear a word, and then you don't continue to say go do business as usual. I just no. There's something I just heard.
Yes.
What is that? What does that mean to me?
Right.
What do I have to do with that? How do I deal with this thing that just fell on my lap? And how do I take these words and how do I carry it forward? Don't just continue to live your day as a business as usual. No. Take a moment and say, oh my God, did I just hear that? Martin Luther King just had to think a moment. Did she just say the dream? Did she just talk about the dream? And what is that dream? And he processed that thing. He didn't just go and he thought about it and said, yeah, she's talking about the dream. So here is the dream now. And she brought the agenda of the dream. So I think that every day is loaded with some of these things. Now, let me show you a good example, right? In 2018, I was in Cameroon, And when I go to Cameroon, there is this brother that I have adopted as my personal driver. I have known him for about 20 years. He's served me and he's worked for me. So he's one of our workers.
Okay, wait, you all are quiet over there. Hold on, Prof. These people, they are quiet on us, Like, hey, are you there? Are you even there? Okay, put in the chat. Let's know you're there. Make today count. Make today count. Let's know you're there. Prof is doing so good, you can't even afford to be silent on him. Come on, y'all. Okay, go ahead, Prof. Thank you so much. We are enjoying this whole thing.
So I'm speaking to the workers of the conference. And after I finished speaking to the workers, I just turned to him and I said, Jonah, when I come back next year, I don't want to see you on the same spot. And then I move away. Now, I come back 1 year later, and he says, he calls me. He has a fun name that he calls me by. I'm not going to say it here, but he says, please, when will you have time? Because I want to show you something. So I and he insisted. He said it about 2 or 3 times. He said, I want to show you something, and he didn't tell me the thing he wanted to show me. So later on, I created some time. He drove me. He's my driver, so he's always my chauffeur. So he drove me somewhere, and then he showed me a large piece of land. Wow. And on that piece of land, he has built an 18-room complex. He was already on the 2nd level of that complex. And he said to me, do you remember that last year when you came here, you said to me, I don't want to see you in the same place? And then he said, here is what I did. When you said that, that thing touched me to the core. When you left, I secured a business license. I started doing business. I started with my car. I took my car. I started doing business with my car. After some time, I entered into real estate, and look at it now. Look at what God has done. Wow. And I said, wow. Now, when I thought back to myself, I remember that I said that to him, but I didn't remember that it was particularly powerful. I didn't remember that it was particularly revelatory. It was I just was telling him, my brother, I know you 20 years now. I don't want to see you here. But that word alone make his day count.
It was just the word his whole life was waiting for at that time.
Exactly.
Listen, friends, it's stories of courage. It's stories of risk. It's stories of boldness. It's stories of clarity. It's stories of vision. It's stories of adding value. It's stories of being grateful for where you are, but knowing that there is much more for you. It's stories of knowing that others' lives are also looking up to you and depending on you to bring your unique touch in their lives, to make their lives what their lives are going to be. It's all these stories. Wait, what is all this meaning to you? Prof, in your book, you talked about unleashing the power of today, and you talked about recognizing our finest hour. Recognizing our finest hour. Yes. And I was like, wait, how do we even recognize the finest hour? How do we unleash the power of today?
So, by the way, recognize your finest hour. That term came from Winston Churchill. So Winston Churchill says that in every man or woman's life, there comes a moment, a day, an opportunity that they were created for, that they are rightly fitted for, that they have the right set of skills to fill. And he asked this question: how terrible, how horrible it will be that when that day comes, it should find a man unqualified or unprepared for what would have been his finest hour. So
wait,
that tells me that.
Just say all of that all over again. What did Winston Churchill say?
So let me read it actually word verbatim from my book. It says, to every man there comes in his lifetime that special moment when he is figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do a very special thing, unique to him unfitted to his talents. What a tragedy if that moment finds him unprepared or unqualified for that which would be his finest hour. Each one of us have a final hour. But watch this. He said that it is unique for you. So in other words, what your finest hour is, Susan, is not my finest hour. So there's no need for competition. There is no need for pushing of heads and no. It's an hour that only you can fit into. You need to be a Mahalia Jackson to be able to tell to say to Martin Luther King Jr., please tell them about the dream. Any one of us, if I said it, he would not have done that. So it was her finest hour because it was unique to her. She had a unique position in the heart of Martin Luther King Jr. She had been that person that went with him from stage to stage and sang before he would come up. So each one of us has that unique opportunity. Now, here's the problem, though. It says the tragedy is that when it knocks, when that door of opportunity knocks, many of us are unprepared and are unqualified. One of the things that this book will do to you is that it will sharpen your sense of preparedness. It will make you aware of the fact that every day, oh my God, what if this was my finest hour? What if being on this broadcast, Susan, to be honest with you, what if being on this broadcast was that finest moment for today to reach out to somebody who was truly in need? Will I do my best, or will I come unqualified and unprepared for what would have been or what could have been? When we get to heaven, somebody said, the greatest regret shall be that we will see the person that we could have become that we did not become, and it will make us really sad. But the only way you can get there and be satisfied with who you become is that you seize the moment and you take a hold of your finest hour. There was this gentleman who was crucified with Jesus Christ, and who was, it is said that he was at his right hand or something like that. And while everybody was mocking at Jesus and saying all kinds of things, he was a thief. He said, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said, today you will be with me in paradise. It takes a moment to change somebody's life. Somebody who had a whole lifetime of robbery and a whole lifetime of stealing, in one moment, he recognized his finest hour, and he that day was in paradise. I don't even know that Moses was promised paradise on the same day. I don't even know that Abraham was promised paradise on the same day. I don't even know any other person in this world who was promised paradise on that same day. But a thief, recognizing his hour, his salvation, his moment, God keyed in that hour and got salvation. And today, the next day you show up in paradise, ask for him, he's going to be there.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, you might want to ask your question, because we are running down to the last 5 minutes of our conversation here. And Prof, would you want to tell us about, because all of this could be overwhelming, just thinking about, I need to seize the day. I need to make today count. When you've done it for a while, like us, you know that it's as easy as breathing. But for some people, it could be overwhelming. So how do we begin small but believe big? How do we begin small but believe big as far as making today count the day before tomorrow?
So let me simplify it this way. So just choose one aspect of your life that you truly care about. For somebody, it might just be, I want to be the best mom. I really feel like I'm not putting in my all. Maybe somebody is like, I have to have this business. This business is my life. This business is my everything. For somebody, it might just be, I really need to get that education and hit that job that I am really, really passionate about. Whatever that thing is, I want you, number one, believe that it is possible to write it down. And then say, what can I do today? What can I do this year that can make me a step closer to becoming that best mom that I want to be? What can I do today to start that business? Do I need to contact somebody who has started the same kind of business? Ask them questions. How do I start? Where do I file for my my licenses? What do I do? What do you advise me to do? Making today count does not mean that you do everything today. You cannot do everything today in terms of 24 hours. But what that means is, if you see, this is what I do. Every time I see a vision ahead of me, I come today and sow a seed. So if I am talking with you right now and I see, oh my God, maybe I should be having more live shows or whatever is going on. So I say, okay, at least. So I sow a seed today. I go and check out, what does it take to own a podcast? What does it take to do have a YouTube channel? Do something. That is a seed, because you are interested.
Take an action immediately.
Immediately. It doesn't see, the problem is not how big it is. No, just small steps are okay. Though your beginning be little, your latter end should greatly increase. Start small. The only prerequisite for greatness is smallness. If you're already great, you don't need greatness. Duh. So if you are small, that is okay. In fact, you are the most qualified person when you are small for greatness, because that is where greatness is looking for smallness, so that it can truly be manifest. So whatever that thing is, just take that little step and do something today that will contribute to that big end.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Professor 𝗕𝗙𝗎, and we've been talking on the day before tomorrow, how to make today count. It is his first book, and it is so powerful. The power of preparation. He didn't come to play. Your Professor Madison didn't come to play on this whole authorship thing. Okay, so Prof, there are people here who are listening. They came to hear your wisdom. They came to get these nuggets. They and many thousands of people listen to these broadcasts, and after now, many other people will be listening. What do you want to leave as a final word for everyone that will watch this live show?
Well, I want to let you know that you were created for a purpose, and you were created to leave your contribution in this world. You were created to leave your mark on the sands of time. Now, to live life and not be able to achieve that is to do this world and yourself a disservice. So begin to make every day count, so that one day when you are not here, people will look back and all they would have to say is that this was a man and a woman. Here lies a man and a woman who made every day of their life count. And the impact of their life, I am a testimony. I hope that is what somebody says of me the day that you come to my graveside. I hope that my country, I hope that my family would look and say, here lies a great man who lived every day of their life to the fullest and accomplished their God-given destiny.
Here lies a great woman. Here lies a great mother. Here lies a great man. Here lies a great girl. Here lies a great boy. And it all begins with making your day count. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know how this has impacted you, and we'll see you again.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.